to the show. I'm Ben. This is Jamie.
What's happening? Welcome to Let Jaime Talk. We have some exciting content for you today around the realm of treated wood.
Mm-hmm. Treated wood, pressure treated wood.
What a subject.
It's an interesting subject, I think, because there's lots of things that go into making that, and many ways you can use it or not use it, right?
Absolutely. Improper use will lead to disaster. So I don't know. That may not be true, but I just thought it sounded exciting.
So we're missing your wife's birthday.
Oh yeah, don't do that. Learn that a time or two.
Did you miss yours?
No, actually I lied. I always remember my wife's birthday and get excellent gifts that are thoughtful, that are exactly what she wanted, that she never knew she wanted.
Mm-hmm. It was yesterday, right?
I made that up too. I let her pick out her own gifts usually. I get her something nice, but yeah, have you ever tried to buy something really nice for your girlfriend or your wife, and then you know they don't even like it, you know?
Yeah.
And then you realize you're terrible at picking out stuff for other people.
I mean, I feel like I'm a pretty good gift getter.
Getter?
Gift getter.
Getter giver?
Giver.
I have this problem about I find things that I like for me when I go shopping for for other people.
Well, yeah, I mean, my wife actually picked out her own engagement ring.
Is that right?
Yeah. She said, this is the one.
Well,
and said, don't buy any other one.
Can I tell you that I didn't give you a chance to answer, so here we go. I proposed to my wife and bought her this ring, a diamond ring, right?
Okay.
And I thought, well, this is the best one I see here that I think she's going to love. And, you know, it was pretty and all that. It was a square one, a square diamond. Not the ring part,
yeah,
but the
square cut.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know what it's called.
What clarity?
I don't know. Well, it turns out it was pointy and pokey, and her hair like got stuck in part of the ring when she was like be sleeping, and she came to me and she was afraid to say, but she was like, would you be upset if I got a different one?
Ooh.
And I was like, no. I was like, I don't care at all. If you don't, not that she didn't like it, of course, but anyway, she picked out the one she wanted. We went back and we traded that thing. She's happy.
Traded it?
We traded it.
You traded it like a car? I didn't know
Well, I
you
went to
could
the
do that.
same place.
No, but yeah. I know.
It hadn't depreciated yet. It was like new condition.
I didn't know you could trade out a ring.
You can if you're desperate and you come in, you know, like I did to the guy that I had just bought this thing from.
It's like, dude, I totally screwed up.
I don't say that to make her feel bad. I'd never ever wanted her to feel bad about it, and I don't care at all. She has one that she likes now, so we're all happy. Why are we talking about this?
I mean, I don't know.
You brought it up.
I did. I was just talking about birthdays, and then we got into rings. But now we're going to get into pressure-treated lumber. I mean, where else can you talk about all these things in one, little short session?
Yeah.
So, pressure-treated lumber.
Okay.
Tell me about it. What is it?
Well, it's a really common building material that we use in building homes. And it is a wood product, a natural wood product that then has been chemically treated to resist rot, decay, insect infestation, and mold and fungus kind of stuff. So it's usually kind of a green color. It's wet and heavy, usually. And it's used in places where you don't want to let regular framing lumber touch things like dirt or concrete or water.
I feel like you said insects with a more emphasis. Does that mean termites?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, termites. We have a lot of termites here in North Carolina and in the south of the United States, eastern at least, southern. And yeah, that can be a major problem, actually.
Okay.
Eat your whole house. So, I mean, there's ways to get some termite protection without pressure-treated wood. Like, it doesn't protect your house from the termites, but it is not supposed to be like a tasty snack for them. They don't like it.
Right.
So, I think.
Yeah.
I think maybe, I mean, somebody out there could tell us.
I feel like there's other, what are these other, like pine post beetles or something like, I feel like there's some wood that's not just termite damage that can get in a home that I've found. Like,
well, there's probably another bug besides a termite that will eat your house.
Right. I don't know what they are, but
we're so focused on termites, we don't even know about the other stuff.
That's true.
You know?
Well, with pressure treated, has it changed? I feel like it's changed over the years. Like, old, I hear old pressure treated is way better than new pressure treated, but
I've
I don't
heard
know what
that
that means.
too.
I don't know what that means.
I've heard that too. People say, yeah, the old treated was good and now the new stuff is no good. And there might be some validity to that.
Okay.
And I don't know the complete history of treated wood, of course, but I did a little research. I found out, I think that the treated wood that we know and love was invented, we'll call it, in the 60s or 70s here.
Okay.
Yeah, like in the United States. And before that, I don't know what they did, but they probably just used whatever wood rotted the slowest, like locust, or something like that, you know?
I guess.
I mean,
how's it, cross ties?
Well, there are some trees or wood types that are naturally, they have all these characteristics that we're trying to implement into wood by treating it. There was some, I don't know, maybe cedar, maybe locust,
right?
Maybe, I don't know. Can you think of any others that were hemlock? Here, maybe. It had some benefits. Yeah, for siding or something like that. Maybe there wasn't a quantity enough of an ideal, naturally, not treated, but a wood that was naturally had those characteristics. Okay, well,
yeah,
great. So some really smart people figured out that they could add some chemicals to the wood that would preserve it better.
That sounds dangerous.
I think now before that, though, people were putting tar. Like, I guess there's some naturally occurring tar somewhere. I never seen any. Maybe some oils. Like, I don't know what kind of oils, but there are some, maybe olive oil. That's not naturally occurring here where we live. No. But I think I did read, maybe it was either the Romans or the Greeks that were using some oil treatment.
Wow, you're going way back.
Okay. I don't know how far back I'm going.
Yeah.
Because I'm not very good at history. But yeah, so there were attempts, I think, early on when some resistance of types was desirable for wood and people were trying all kinds of things. I've even seen people try to put diesel fuel on stuff and to try to get some water resistance repellent. All right, well, so they did develop whatever an industrialized, commercialized version of this, and and it was useful in home building, probably primarily. And I will say every home I've ever built has treated wood in it. I never built one that didn't. So it's a necessity now, I would call it.
Right. Well, and it's and that's more of a United States thing, I believe. Because I think you have a lot of viewers on the other channel that rag on you for using so much wood and pressure treated wood because they don't. They either use metal or concrete or cement, something like that, right?
Well, definitely. Where we live in the United States, and we have a lot of natural resources, wood related, and it's affordable, I think, to build out of wood compared to maybe some of the other cementitious products. Oh, yeah, it's a big word.
Yeah,
I know. Just learned it. So, that'd be concrete, masonry, bricks, mortar, anything in that realm. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't have resources like wood available in certain countries, or at least not as readily available.
Right. So it's more cost effective for us.
I think so.
To build from wood.
It's quick, Yeah. It's quick to build out of wood. And, we do get a lot of flack for that,
Yeah.
Because there are countries that say, at least in the comment section on the Builder Brothers channel, they say, well, we only build dog houses out of boards. You're building houses. Shame on you.
Right.
Your house is going to fall down. That's the comment we get. Your house will fall down. It's made of wood.
I guess we don't have any, castles built out of wood.
Not really. But if you have kids, then you've read the story of the Three Little Pigs, and you know how that went with the houses.
Yeah.
The wood house got huffed and puffed and blown down. And was the last one brick?
I think the last one's brick.
Well, there's your answer.
Yeah. That's the way. So we're not necessarily doing it wrong.
I don't think it's wrong.
Right.
My house is made of wood, and yours is too. I can see it from here if I look out the window.
Part of it's block.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Part
of it's European.
All right. Well, let's talk about back to the old treated wood. All right. Well, back before the year 2000, the wood that we used was treated. I looked this up with a chemical treatment that was labeled CCA.
All right.
And that stands for, I'm going to read it right here, chromated copper arsenate. All right. Okay. So that green color, I think that's probably from the copper, because if you've seen copper roofs, they turn kind of green. I could be wrong on that. Chromated. Now, I don't know what that means. And arsenate. I was like, what is arsenate? So I did a little Google search on arsenate, and I got a bunch of like chemical compound diagrams of molecules, and
Gotcha.
I stopped right there.
So more than you wanted.
I knew it was going to be over my head. At any rate, it is. It sounds maybe not like too far from arsenic. I don't know if it's the same thing, but all I know is that's not good for you.
Yeah.
It sounds like a one of those skull and crossbones kind of chemicals,
right. I see.
And I don't even know why they exactly made the change, but they changed to a new kind that is, I believe, current today in 2025. And it is called, and I'm going to read it too, because it's called alkaline copper quaternary.
Okay.
Quaternary. Is that in your daily vocabulary?
I mean, quarterly.
Yeah. Quaternary.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I'm saying that right. But it is labeled as a a water-based wood preservative. And my guess is that it is less chemically hazardous.
But may not be as effective.
It may not be. And I don't know what makes it more or less effective.
Right.
But I can tell you this, though. When you cut a board open that is pressure treated, say you cut it right in the middle. Sometimes the treated chemical part that's green does not go all the way to the center of the board. And you might notice a lighter white or yellowish color wood in the center that never got the chemical treatment. That could be a problem.
So we're trying to do it too fast.
I think so. And in trying to get to the answer, to the bottom of it here, I found out that there are different levels of treatment in different categories. And there's this big fancy chart, and I don't know the name of it. So if you really want to know, I'm not going to give you all the technical answers that you're wanting here, Ben, but I can give you the guidelines of the basics.
Okay.
I'll
take that.
All right. Let's just say there's 4 degrees. I'm going to hold up my 4 fingers here. There's 4 degrees. That's 3.5, but you get the point. There's 4 degrees of treated wood. Categories 1 through 4, we'll call them. And these are my imaginary categories that I just made up. But they do correlate to the real ones. All right, number 1 is going to be the least treated for the least heavy-duty application. Okay, and this is going to be like deck boards that you put on your house, on your deck. Maybe some boards you would use on railings around your decking. And treated wood that it needs to be outside. So you don't want to use regular, what we call white wood. If you go into the store and you see like spruce 2x4s, you don't want to put those on your deck railing because they'll rot away within a year. All right, so these are mildly treated, I'm going to call it, and they're meant to be above grade, above the ground. They are not what we call ground contact rated. All right. Okay. So you don't want your decking to go in the dirt. You don't want it to get wet all the time because it is not designed to perform long-term in that environment. Okay.
Even though it's pressure treated.
Even though it's treated. Treated, people... they just think treated means it's like invincible to the elements. It's not. It's really not. And so I've seen decking boards rot within 6 or 7 years that are fully exposed to the weather. On the other hand, decking boards that are covered under a roof on your house, like at my house is 17 years old, I think now.
Right.
I have wood decking. All my decks that are covered are wood decks. And they look brand new as long as you refinish them periodically. Okay.
Keep them out of the elements.
Yeah. So they can serve to the degree that they're designed to be serving. Right.
Yeah.
Now, let's just say you're going to put a post in the ground to support your deck.
Okay.
Are you going to go for that first degree of treated? No, that'd be silly. So the next step up, level 2, is like ground contact rated. And almost every 4x4 and every 4x6 and every 6x6 and on up the line, say an 8x8 is probably the biggest common size we use. They are going to say ground contact rated. And there's a little tag. You probably noticed the little tag on the end of the board.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Stapled on there.
Yep.
I always think of the yellow wood tag. Have you heard of yellow wood with an A?
I haven't.
You haven't heard of it?
No.
You watch
Yellow,
TV?
Yeah, I do, but I mean, yellow. I don't know that I realized that it is yellow wood. So yeah.
Well, there's a thing called yellow wood, and it's a brand, I guess, of pressure treated wood. I don't know, common around here. And they have commercials where they staple the tag on the end of the treated wood in the commercial. And it always bothers me because they have a staple gun, like a pneumatic staple gun, and they put like 2 staples in the tag. But the staple gun is turned like 90 degrees from the way that I know a staple comes out the end of a staple gun. And I'm like, man, they got some mark. Come on, trying to sell me on your thing, but then you turn I don't know what to believe now. I'm like, I thought you were pretty smart, but now I'm starting to question it.
Ooh. Now, with those tags, do you rip those off before you use the board?
No, I never do. We never do. No, they're on there forever.
They're just there.
They're there forever. What? Somebody takes it apart. There it is. Well, that tag is going to contain all that information, whether it's level 1 or whether it's ground contact rated. That's for you to know what you're buying.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's what it's for. And there's more levels beyond that. You want to get to that?
How many levels?
Well, at least 2 more.
Okay.
There is a heavy duty rated.
Who needs that? I mean, who used to use those? Is that commercial?
Well, it could be commercial, but I'll give you a good example. Right here where we live in Bryson City, there's a little island park. Okay. I'm sure you've been there.
I have.
All right. They just built a new pavilion on an island, right?
Yes.
All right. It's only like 2 feet above the river level. This island is the highest part, maybe 3 feet.
Yeah.
And it floods regularly. Okay.
In the floodplain.
And they built this thing. And I was talking actually to the engineer that designed it the other day. And so the posts that support that, they need to last a long time. I mean, it's considered a commercial structure, I guess. And it is the posts are buried in concrete into a riverbed, basically. And it's going to get wet. And so you don't want to put your standard off the shelf at Lowe's or Home Depot or your local hardware store 6x6 in the ground. It is not rated for that, and it'll probably rot prematurely. All right, so that's level 3 is going to be some sort of heavy duty in contact with more moisture always. Okay.
Yeah, it's funny about that pavilion. I think it got finished right before Helene, not too long before Helene.
Is that right?
And it did. Yep. I think water was up to the roof.
And it performed well?
Yeah. It's still there.
Still standing? Very good on the
yeah.
Very good on the engineering and building then.
I think so.
I actually haven't even walked up to it. I saw it. Oh yeah. Did you have a good heavy hand in that?
Not in the engineering portion.
Okay.
No.
Well,
No.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. Well, now I have to go look at it. I only know about it. I haven't actually been to it yet.
Oh.
You know.
Well, the island's been closed because of flooding.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. I actually saw a bunch of heavy equipment running through the woods over there and driving like all over, picking up, I guess, trees and debris. And,
yes.
you know.
So soon.
Okay.
Soon you can go check it out.
I hope this summer we can go check it out.
You can take your cats on a walk.
My cats love going out.
Yeah.
For a stroll. So, all right, that's going to be, say the third level is a heavy duty, perhaps a commercial use and something that, you need longevity in places that you can't replace easily. Okay. Did I say that right?
I think so.
You need something that's going to last a really long time. If it's next to impossible or so integral to your building that you cannot really easily access it, replace it without tearing the whole place down.
Yeah.
All right. So it'd be worth, buying the extra, whatever the extra cost is to get that material.
And that was number 3.
That was number 3. And let's just, let me say those are not on the shelf at the store.
Gotcha.
Usually.
Special
if you
order.
need that, you're going to special order it. They're not impossible to get or anything like that. They are just not a fast moving product for your common builder,
Right.
And so the lumber yards aren't going to waste a shelf space on those.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Then let's say, there's like number 4, let's call it like a marine application. And they actually have different subcategories of each one of these that would be like, so for a freshwater or for a certain location, like northern, mid, and southern.
Okay.
Like, I don't know if there's differences in the water, in the saltwater Atlantic versus, down in the southern part of Florida, like in the Gulf. I don't really know.
Okay.
But I will say that if you want the biggest, baddest treated post, get a marine grade. I mean, there's guys building docks. They stick those things in the mud and in the salt water. And you've probably been out on a dock somewhere at the beach, and it's made of wood, and it's been there for.
Yeah,
they look.
the
old,
pier. You got to go to the pier, wherever the pier is, wherever you're staying. There's a pier nearby.
Yeah,
and I like to go underneath the pier and look down through, you know, all the posts. So that's a fun thing for me. Watch the waves crash through the pier posts and then look at it and go, man, this is going to fall one day.
That is pretty cool. And they withstand a lot in marine environment. So there you go. You got your covered deck treated wood.
Yeah.
You got your exposed to ground contact treated wood, your 6x6s. You got your heavy duty where it's going to have some water that's, you know, present all the time. And then you've got now some intermittent perhaps. And then you've got your marine grade. It can go in a swamp, in a saltwater, crocodile infested place, and it will be there forever. Asterisk on forever. Even like telephone poles, they're treated, you know, probably in that marine grade.
Yeah. Or power. Yeah. So power
poles, telephone poles. 70-year rated. Okay.
Oh, wow.
That's a long time. There's some poles been.
There's probably been some out there longer than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Around here anyway.
Excuse me. I'm gonna have to drink some tea here.
Yeah, my voice is getting you.
My Perkins. You know, my voice has struggled, and we're doing this Let Jaime Talk thing. There's a lot of pressure to, you know, have my voice sounding okay.
Right. Yeah, I really feel bad about, you know, being here and straining your voice.
Well, you know, at the job site, it's very loud, and I have to talk all day at work and raise my voice over the loudness of nail guns and air compressors and my crew, you know, yelling at each other, having a good time. So anyway, and just recently, you know, it's been an extra strain because we had the IBS 2025 in Las Vegas. Lots of people there, lots of talking. Had a great time interacting with a lot of people that watch the show, Perkins Builder Brothers, and a lot of our sponsor companies that we meet there. So that was excellent. And then a double whammy. When I got back, I had to spend like half a day at the elementary school here for a career day.
That's right.
Which I was one of the speakers. And I had to present to like 6 classes that were 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade back to back to back.
Is this when they have the trucks outside? Did they have the trucks?
They did, and I got called to see if I would join in on truck day also. But that was a different day.
Oh, okay.
Or at least at that school it was.
You had to bring your truck.
Well, I declined. I really wanted to go. Yeah, my truck. I don't think my truck's much to look at.
It's like you can crawl through a fire truck and an ambulance, and then Jamie's work truck.
My busted up old work truck. I don't think it's going to be very popular. Yeah. So anyway, hey, let's circle back a little bit to 6x6s.
Okay.
All right. I think 6x6 pressure treated is one of the most common pressure treated things you're going to use. Okay. Right. I think for us it is. So a 6x6 is a very strong column. We use it, you know, in a vertical orientation, mostly supporting decks. And something that we deal with all the time, that if you're going to build something, you might find out, is that when they dry, because they're wet.
Right.
They're wet. Let's talk about the treating process just for a second.
Okay. Yeah. How does
now,
that happen?
I haven't seen it happen in person, but I watched some videos. When the wood is about to be treated, you know, they stack it up on these giant carts, like a train track almost, you know.
Okay.
And then they stack up a big pile, and then they stack a pile on top of that. And we're talking like 10, 15 feet tall. And then they roll that cart in a train track looking thing into a giant cylindrical capsule, if you will. There may be, 20 feet tall, and they could be 50 feet long, maybe longer, maybe 100 feet long. Not really sure. Okay. They roll the wood in there. They slam that giant door, and it locks like a giant safe at the bank. Right. And then they pump it full of water that carries the chemical, or maybe it's not water, but there's some sort of,
is it just straight chemical?
Woo.
Yeah.
You know, they bring the liquid in there that's carrying the chemical, and then they pressurize it. I don't know how much. I think maybe Brett could look up how much pressure does it take to pressure treat wood. It's a lot. It's a lot. They don't just like brush it on with a paintbrush like you're staining a deck.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't absorb deeply into the wood grain, right? And maybe that's like with the differences of the different levels. Like maybe that decking board I said that, you know, you cut it open, maybe it's not treated all the way in the inside.
Right.
Maybe they don't treat them as long, or maybe they don't use as high of a pressure or so. I'm only speculating. 140 to 150 PSI. That's a lot. That's a lot.
I don't think your pressure cooker goes that high.
No, I don't. I've never used one. I've never used one. We have one though.
Everybody has
That's
one.
the same as the air fryer, right?
No. For a pressure cooker?
All right. Very good. I clearly am showing my ignorance, but okay.
You don't do a lot of canning.
No.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Well, okay. So the treatment is forced because of the high pressure to penetrate deeply into the wood grain. And that's great. That's what we want. We want every part of the interior of the wood to be treated. Now they check with samples. They actually drill little core drillings. If you've maybe never noticed, but there's little plugs in some treated wood you buy. And what that's somebody's, taking a drill and pulling out a little core sample, and they're checking the depth to see how deep the chemical went in. So we always wondered what those are for, and then we found out. That's what it is. Doesn't affect the structural strength of it. I remember there used to be a question we got asked. I don't know if it was on the contractor's test or in drafting class or somewhere. The question was, does pressure treating wood make it stronger? Have you ever heard that question? Does it make it stronger, like structurally?
No.
Well, the answer is no, of course. It doesn't. It just makes it green, and to where bugs don't like it. All right. So during the process, the wood gets wet, saturated, like on purpose, fully saturated, as a matter of fact. And so when it comes out of there, it's soaking wet, like dripping wet. And then they bundle it up in a tight bundle, and then they, boom, ship it out. Goes on a store near you. And when you buy it, most likely it's still going to be wet because it'll take a really long time to dry out. Except for maybe the boards that are on top. You might notice that the boards on top start cupping on the bundle. If you get a brand new bundle, or if you go look at the store, if the bundle's been out in the sun at all, man, those top boards are going to be cupped, and you better slide those aside and get to the ones that are fully wet so that they can cup later. Oh man. I always tell people, don't build anything out of treated wood that you want to like do a mitered joint or something that's going to be finished trim looking, and that you expect it to stay where it is when you put it together. We used to always have to, if we built railings out of like decking boards and the top cap was made out of 2x6 or 1x6, we call it 5/4x6 actually. But that means a 1 inch thick decking board. I would always be sure the homeowner saw how good it looked the day I put it in.
Right.
And I would even like take a picture. I'd be like, it looks beautiful right now. You see that, homeowner? You see how beautiful that is? And you need to get some confirmation that they see that, because in a couple weeks, guess what? The wood's going to dry out. And when it dries out, it's going to shrink and it's going to change shape. It is.
And color.
And all kinds of things will happen. So, I don't recommend treated wood as much anymore, because we've got a lot more options for decking, especially. Composite decking is taking over.
Do you feel like that's helped with the composite decking's helped not have so many calls later on after you leave a house? It definitely has. To be like, hey, this board popped up.
I mean, houses that I've built in the not so distant past, I've had callbacks. My deck rotted. My foot went through the deck.
Ooh.
Yeah, seriously. Bad. In rot, I don't really know a lot about rot technically, but rot, I think, can transfer. Let's say your decking board rots, and the framing board right below it, your 2x10 or whatever 2x8 is right below it. Even if it was not really going to rot, I think if the rot from the board above it gets to it, it will just continue as if it was the same board. It would just, I don't know if that's really true, but I've seen that happen where none of the framing is rotting except for where the decking board above it rotted, and then it just keeps going. And then your framing is compromised. And yeah, we've replaced quite a few like that.
Okay.
And I don't like a callback.
Right.
Do you like a callback?
No, I don't like a callback. But I mean,
who does?
Do you give a warranty? I mean, is like,
be
careful here because people are listening. I mean,
I don't really know. There are some like laws that every contractor falls under, a certain liability. And I'll be honest, I don't know that I fully know exactly what those are specifically.
Gotcha.
And I would bet if you ask any builder that, I don't know that they know. But there's kind of like a 1-year warranty for sure on structural, like drywall pops, like a nail pop and stuff like that. That's not a warranty issue. If you're nice, you'll send your drywall guy back out and have him fix a few drywall pops. But basically that's all I know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you said you talked about your dad's deck one time that it was made out of that old pressure treated lumber, right? And it's lasted a long time.
30 plus years.
Wow.
It has. And it's been treated like or I shouldn't say treated again.
Is it covered?
It is covered. All the decks are covered at my dad's house.
Gotcha.
And all the ones at my house that are wood are covered. I built a deck that was out in the open and I use composite decking and I use aluminum railings. Okay. But here's the catch. I use vertical 6x6 posts to connect my railings together. And the top of those posts rotted. No. And this thing is not that old. Where was I the other day? 2x4 railings. Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. My 2x4 railings I had, and they're under a roof. They twisted, rotted, splintered. So here's another enemy of treated wood, or maybe any exposed wood that we don't really talk a lot about, is the cycle of getting wet and drying over and over and over. Okay, so when wood gets wet, it swells up. Yeah. Right? Now, when wood dries, what does it do?
Shrinks.
It shrinks. Okay, so there's a cycle, and every time it gets wet or dry, it does this cycle. Now, the board is going to be attached in some way, and those are like fixed points. All right, it's pinned down with nails or screws, and every time it expands, it's pressure against the nails or screws, and if it shrinks, it can be pulling. All right, and so this cycle can crack the board, right? Just make it like totally cracked. Right. Especially decking is prone to this, and handrails that get rained on. So my deck is facing west, straight west toward the sun. And it's unbearably hot out there in the afternoons in the summertime. And so those boards, and the wind comes in from that direction too. Gotcha. So when it rains, the wind blows in under the roof. It gets at least half of my deck wet. And then the sun bakes it right after that. Okay. Every time. And so half of my deck boards are cracked really bad. And then the nails start popping and it's getting a little loose. There's a lot of stresses coming and going every time that happens. And then the boards that are, closer back, covered more, they look like brand new. They're perfect condition.
Would you turn your house next time? If you build another house, would you turn it?
I would. Yeah. I think at the time I built my house, I was a little naive or a little just I couldn't think about the whole big picture in every way, right? And I'm not saying I can now, but I have a little more insight now 20 years later about what, I would do or not do in a lot of different ways. But this is definitely one of them. More covered area on a deck that's not in the blazing sun. Okay. And I would say this, if you want to build a deck out of treated, decking boards, that's fine as long as you're interested in maintenance. I would say you would want to stain or paint. Well, paint might be. I don't know if you paint. Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. What do you think? Paint?
I don't know that I would paint a deck.
Let's call it stain. Let's just say stain. People say, how long between like staining my deck? Is it 5 years, 10 years? And I laugh because I'm like, no, I'm talking every year. Right. Every year. I mean, you need to, if you want to get the best, longevity out of your deck boards. It's every a constant maintenance.
Yeah. Okay.
It is.
And that'll help keep it tip-top shape.
It will. It'll keep the water from getting down in that board. That's going to cause that expansion and contraction cycle to be happening all the time. Mm-hmm. Definitely help.
Well, let's say I'm going to the big box store, whatever you want. I don't want to say one specific because it may be different where you live. Sure. But to purchase lumber for your project, is when I'm going and looking for the yellow tag, is there anything else that I can look for to best pick out those pressure treated boards that maybe keeps me from getting the most warped looking posts that I've ever put in?
Yeah, there's one thing that I can think of. There was at least at our hardware store here, they have a KDAT in this. That's KDAT, and that will be on the tag. And that is kiln dried after treatment. Did I say that right? KDAT, kiln dried. Yep. And it is what it sounds like. They treat the wood. It's soaking wet, saturated with water, chemical, and then they send it to the dry kiln. And they remove all that moisture that they added during the treated process. Now, this wood's going to be more expensive because they're doing more processing to it, right? Mm-hmm. It's going to take a longer period of time. And it takes a long time to dry kiln wood and for it to air dry. I mean, it could be a very long process. And so you can bet that the people that make this want to do it as quickly as possible and get it on the shelf near you so they can sell their product, right?
Right.
But if you're going to do a project where you do want to do maybe some fancy joinery on your deck, maybe some stuff that you're maybe going to paint right away, like white or whatever color. You want to make sure that you're not painting latex paint over a soaking wet treated board, So if it's going to be painted right away, I would highly recommend the kiln dried after treated, pressure treated wood.
Okay.
And it's hard to get that, that green kind of color. It kind of wants to bleed through.
Right.
It really does. And especially if it's wet at all. I mean, it's gonna mix up like with your paint. Like,
so if you're trying to paint your white porch post,
yeah, you better use a dried treated.
It's gonna be a little tingy green, huh?
Yeah,
could be.
Jamie has built.
Yeah. Yeah. So Brett's reminded me of a time when we wanted to have some painted posts, and instead of buying a 6x6 or even an 8x8, they're really bad to crack. Did you know that? You probably do. A 6x6 or an 8x8. By the way, for a 4x4, I'm going to just go ahead and say this. We don't use 4x4 in deck building, or really anything.
Too small.
I don't think it doesn't exist to us in custom home building realm. There's not a place where I order 4x4s for on a house, really. I don't know what you use them for. We don't really buy them. I mean, they're good for something. What did I buy some for the other day? I did buy some 4x4s. Oh, it was like framing. It was for framing where we use them for studs on something, like literally in place of a 2x4. I thought I need something a little bigger than a 2x4, and it had to be treated. I just ordered 4x4s. So no big deal, but they're not a standalone post. All right. Well, anyway, these 6x6s that we use so much, a lot of them twist and crack and bow when they dry.
Right.
Now, how long does it take a 6x6 to dry?
Years.
A wet one. Yeah, years. Yep. So you buy wet 6x6s and you put them in on a house, on a porch, and then it looks beautiful. Everything is straight. And then about 5 years later, they twist and they bow and they do bad things. I'm going to say 1 out of 3.
Okay.
You can do the math on that.
You speak for personal experience on that.
Well, yeah, on my own house, at least, I have a bunch of these. They're about 10 feet tall, maybe 8 to 10 feet tall, these 6x6s. And that's a reasonable height for a 6x6. If you get taller than that, I would recommend 8x8 if you're getting over 10 feet.
Okay.
Code allows up to 14 feet with a 6x6, unsupported in any other way. I think that's too tall. 10 feet, 12 feet maybe, max. But anyway, there was this one post on my front porch. It's right where you drive up, you look at the front of the house, and it bowed to the side like 2 inches. And I looked at it every day when I came home, and I was ticked every day. Every day. And so I finally said, hey, I'm going to saw this thing out. And there was one on the back of the house too. You couldn't see it. But it had bowed to the side so much, it shrank up in length. Now, typically when wood dries, if it's really wet, like treated wood, it'll shrink in width a ton, but not in length, typically. All right. Typically. But this one, it shrank so bad, it was really ugly. I just finally snapped and I went out and bought a new post, sawed this thing out with a Sawzall, and I installed a brand new one, and it was wet too. Fast forward 5 years, what happened to it, you think?
I think it's twisted.
It is. Yeah. Now it's twisted, and the little trim, I had to put a little trim molding around the top because I had Sawzalled it off and there wasn't a joint there or a cut previously. So now I had to cover my cut with a little piece of fancy molding. It's not fancy, it's plain. And then I had trimmed out the other post beside it so that it didn't look like a, oops. And now the one that's there is twisted. Am I going to do this again?
I don't know.
And just roll the dice?
Or just going to leave it?
I'm leaving it. It's straight now, at least.
Well, yeah.
I can deal with the little twists better than I can deal with a bow, a side bow. So this is a little bit of a, like I said, a little roll the dice thing. If you're a builder and, 2 or 3 years down the road, those posts dry, you have one that goes really wacky, you get a phone call. What are you going to do?
Right.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't. Now there are there are composite posts too. You don't have to use treated wood for posts. But there are also laminated, kiln dried, glued together, treated posts. Yeah.
So very cheap.
Did I say that right? No, they're not cheap. And some of them are hollow, actually. I've used hollow ones that we've bought. But sometimes I don't like the pre-manufactured ones because they take the size of them is not the same. They might only be 5 1/4 or 5 inches square when a typical post is 5 1/2. And I'm like, man, I can't win. And so then I end up making my own, whatever size I like. I buy kiln dried 2x8s and I miter the corners on a rip and I domino them together with pressure treated dominoes that I make myself and then glue it together with weatherproof glue. Now, the glue I use, it was like Type Bond, Type 3.
Okay.
And so
you didn't make that yourself?
No, no, but then I found out by reading their specs on the glue online that it is not structural rated. But now what does that mean? I don't really know.
Yeah.
So if you're doing one, I would recommend to buy the pre-made one because they use like real structural forever glue. Okay. So you don't want to pull the little white Elmer's glue out of your kid's backpack and start building structural stuff for your house. But mine have not gone anywhere. I see them every day.
Okay.
And they're still there. And I did that because also I wanted to paint them right away. Boom. So you know had to get out of the wet zone.
Again, we were at the store, looking for pressure treated lumber. Is there in the wood grain? Can I tell anything from the end grain of the wood?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, sure.
Or not?
You can look at the end grain if you want to get a little nerdy with it and you want to make sure you're getting the best boards. If you look at decking boards, you can find some that are flat sawn or some that are maybe we'd call quarter sawn or riff sawn. Quarter and riff sawn are better than flat sawn typically. It's a better cut of grain, you will say. You're going to have to look what all that up is to find out what I mean by that. But in general, something that you probably want to know, but you at the same time might not want to know is that most of the posts that you buy and most of the lumber in this category, they're cut out of like the center of the tree.
Okay.
If you look at the end grain of a 6x6, you're going to see that all the grain lines and the rings are centered on the post. And what that means is they cut one post out of one tree. And anybody that knows about sawmilling and lumber grading is going to tell you that the center part of a tree is the least desirable for lumber because it's the least stable. And what that means is the least resistant to bowing, warping, cracking, and things like that. So you can buy a higher grade if you want. Like standard grade is number 2. Okay. That is going to be on the shelf almost everywhere, readily available. The supplier that I use mostly now for all my materials, they actually quit carrying number 2 posts because they had so many returned and so many on the yard, and that just means the lumber yard, that they went bad. They warped and twisted and bowed beyond a reasonable amount before they could even sell them.
Oh, wow.
And so they had just tons of returns, tons of product that they couldn't sell, what are they going to do? So they quit carrying 2. They started carrying number 1 posts. Now they do still suffer from a lot of the same things, but they're a little nicer. They might be cut out of a larger tree and not dead center. That's one thing that you might notice out of a higher grade post.
Okay.
Yeah. And it should stay straight longer or better, have a less chance of going crooked.
Okay. That's
maybe.
I think that's
a maybe.
Good thing to keep in mind if you're trying to minimize, having to do this later. You said it's, every third of posts possibly, right?
I think so. 1 out of 3 is going to maybe give you some regrets.
I have 1 out of 3 on my watch.
You got one? Brett has one.
1 out of 3.
And 1 out of 3? You have 3 and 1 went bad. Man. Okay. We're getting some confirmation that the numbers are accurate here.
With pressure treated wood, can you use it inside for interior? Would you use it inside?
You could, like if somebody says, "Oh, treated's better. I'm going to frame my whole house out of pressure treated wood." I would say you're crazy. Because let me tell you why though. It's not because you don't have a good idea. The idea of it may be better. Oh, it's resistant to fungus and mold and termites and it's never going to rot. Well, there's a lot of houses that have suffered from all those problems, right? So you think you're preventing some problems. But actually, the biggest problem I can see with using it for interior framing is the fact that it is soaking wet when you buy it. And when soaking wet wood dries, it bows and warps typically. Or it's unpredictable, I guess is really, it could stay straight. It's not that it's guaranteed to bow, right?
Right.
And so like wood that we would use to frame a house with is already kiln dried down to a 19% moisture content. And that's still pretty high actually. Regular framing lumber, 19%. Like furniture and wood flooring in your house might be down to 6 or 8%. So 19 is pretty high. So regular framing lumber actually will dry during the building process, hopefully enough to bow or warp before you get drywall on. And if those boards can be identified, and we're doing this currently at our job right now. We framed a house, and it's been a couple months since we started framing, and there's already some boards that are bowing. And I'm going through the house, examining everything, checking with straight edges, and I'm like, all right, that board really, really bowed. Like we wouldn't have put one in that crooked, and it's way wacky. So now I'm cutting that one out. I'm putting a new one. Wow. And I'll go through the whole house and I'll check for those. But if you do the treated thing and you're using wood that's like 100% moisture content in your meter, when you stick it with the moisture meter, it's going to go, it's going to go off the charts and blow up and smoke come out of your moisture meter. Then you don't want those boards in your house because there's just no telling. Because you could get it done even like finish the inside before it ever dries out. Then you've trapped a bunch of moisture in your walls.
Right.
And there's no telling what'll happen with that. It can mold. It's not like it can't mold, and then they're going to dry eventually and do bad things to your drywall.
All right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And the chemical, I don't know a lot about the chemical, like I said, technically, but it is somewhat corrosive, and it does, sort of like, if you don't use galvanized nails, like zinc coated, hot dip coated nails.
Okay.
You heard of hot dip nails?
Yes.
And it's not like
not like that cone at the ice cream.
It's not that, and it's not like when you go to Krispy Kreme and the donuts have the glazing.
Glaze.
Yeah, it's not like that either.
They don't dip those though. Those are in a conveyor belt, man.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. I know. It's like a waterfall.
It is. It's fun to watch.
It is fun to watch. I like watching donuts get made.
Yeah.
So yeah, hot dipped zinc. So you need a steel nail, but regular steel is going to rust. And the chemical in the wood is more corrosive than just like water. And so they need to be protected, coated in zinc. Now you can get double dipped too for more extreme applications. Mm-hmm. And that's like, if you take a bite out of your chip and then you stick it back in the guacamole, it's okay at your own house, but not if you're at a friend's house.
Yeah. How good of a friend?
Okay. Well,
I feel like I could double dip at your house.
You probably could. Just turn your chip around at least.
Oh, okay.
Spin it around.
After I wash my hands.
Yeah. Hey, let's say if you're getting into the category of the heavier duty rated stuff, like the treated wood, into the 3 and the 4, you probably don't want to use galvanized at all. You probably want to use stainless steel.
Oh.
So yeah, if you go to a really nice dock, it's going to have stainless steel fasteners. Okay. No rust.
Not drywall screws.
No. Drywall screws can do anything. Come on. You know that.
They're so grippy.
It's the universal screw. It's good for every application.
That's so plentiful.
Brett's giving me the side eye on that. He doesn't think so.
Well, so don't use it in the home. What about furniture?
If you were going to build maybe a chair or a little table on your deck, you could do it. But I would recommend you use the kiln dried stuff. So that if you fit up some joinery, it probably will stay looking good. Yeah, it'd be okay. Not the best, but it'd be fine. It'd be better than non-treated wood of the same type.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's I've got a question here that ties into the pressure treated topic.
Okay.
And it's a fun question because it's a tiebreaker. You get to be a tiebreaker for Adam Markham here. He has this issue where the ice dam, or he had an ice dam on his gutter, pull the fascia off with the gutter. Mm-hmm. His brother said to replace the fascia with treated wood, and his brother-in-law, who he worked for years, said not to use treated, as the rafters that you're tying into are not treated. So he needs a Perkins Builder brother to break this tie between brother and brother-in-law. So no pressure.
Okay, well, I don't want to say anything too definitively, but my recommendation is yes, use the treated wood.
Okay.
And we have built many, many houses with non-treated rafters with treated fascia boards. Back in the day, actually, building with my dad, that was the only fascia we ever put on, was a treated 2x8.
Okay.
Yeah. So you might have a 2x6 rafter tail or a 2x8 rafter tail, and you nail a treated, pressure treated 2x8 on there. We used hand drives back then. Hand drive, big old galvanized 3.5 inch, 16 penny nails, hand driving them. They're hard to hand drive, by the way. And I actually highly recommend a big nail with a ring shank on it to hold those fascia boards on. It's actually amazing how much pressure you can get with a gutter full of water or full of ice, and it's pushing on the fascia board. So in the way that they're nailed, a fascia board nailed into the end grain of a rafter tail, that's a pretty weak type of connection as far as the nail being able to pull out, especially if it's not like really nailed correctly or well nailed. You can even angle your nails a little bit in different directions, and that'll make it resist pulling out even more.
Just in all crazy different directions, or
a little bit of angle here, do the next one, a little bit of angle there, a little bit opposite direction. It actually really does work, and my dad taught me that, and it is true. It creates I don't know if you can turn the camera here. If you got your nails running, is that camera on me?
It is.
Okay,
yeah.
I can't see on the screen, but if you run your nails all straight in, they can pull straight out. All right, but if you have nails coming from both directions like this, okay, and then they're locked in order to pull out, they would actually have to straighten or bend the nails to pull out that way. I made that sound on purpose, by the way. It wasn't a sneeze or anything. That was the sound of the nail coming out of the wood, is what it was. So it's an awesome way. If you don't believe me, try it. Nail some nails straight in, then nail a couple crossed up and try to pull it apart. Not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So, and I would say if you're gonna paint that gutter, the board behind the gutter, right away.
Do it before.
You could pre-paint it on the ground. That'd be brilliant. But at least use a dried treated wood. And if you can't find kiln dried treated wood, just buy that board and set it out and cover it. Let it air dry for a while. It might bow and warp though.
But don't lay it in the driveway.
No, if you lay it out in the sun, it will cup up and warp.
Yeah.
Try that too.
Well, are there any other things you think we left out about pressure treated?
Well, sure, of course. This is just the intro, so now we're gonna start the episode now. No, there's a lot. But I think we covered the basics.
Yeah. Well, and I think if anybody listening or watching has got any questions, they know how to get in contact with us.
The answers are out there. Answers are out there.
And if they're not in your head, we'll try to figure it out.
Yeah, we'll try to figure it out. So I guess we'll wrap up.
Yeah,
we'll wrap up for today. You got any other thoughts?
Well, I want to thank everybody who watched last week for tuning in and giving us some feedback, and that was fun. This episode's fun, a little bit different, a little bit more construction related than the last, not so personal. So it's it's been a good time, and we'll be back again with something else after this.
Sounds good. Well, I enjoyed the topic. It was a real treat, Ben.
To
be here with you this morning. And I learned a lot myself, actually, just by having to find some answers and to be able to share with people. So anyway, like we say here, if you don't know, just ask. And thanks for being with us.
See you next time.